Mountainhead is the new movie by Jesse Armstrong, who created Succession. He wrote and directed this movie, and it follows four crypto tech bros who are staying at this isolated mansion in the middle of the wilderness. And in the midst of a giant global catastrophe, it follows these four characters, these major tech guys, and their impact on this disaster and how they are trying to see this as a good thing and capitalize on it. Now, this movie is really interesting. A lot of people were saying, connections to Succession. I think this movie, is interesting, but it's frustrating. I enjoyed it. I want to, get that out of the way. It is fun to watch. The actors are great. And I like the style of how they make this movie, the way it's shot. But it also reminded me of another movie, which I want to talk about. It was a controversial movie to get Best Picture nominations. Adam McKay's Don't Look Up. And there's a connection. Adam McKay directed, I don't know if he wrote the pilot to Succession, and kind of really grounded that style of this documentary office style shooting where it's a handheld camera. It makes scenes interesting, or sequences interesting. You feel like you're there with these people. It doesn't feel like you're kind of watching the static shot. So overall, I had fun with this movie. It really is pretentious. It feels like I'm watching a play. It reminded me kind of like a David Mamet play. If you watch Succession, the way the characters speak, there's always such funny word choices, and they always add sexual innuendos, and they say fuck, and they're talking about the economy, or they're talking about business, or buying millions of dollars worth of real estate, or something with AI in this movie. But they always just have fun dialogue kind of exchanging that. And I think that's what the best part of Succession is. It tells the story that seems like it could be a little dry, but because the characters are so interesting, and because there's such good dialogue, and they're just so quirky, that is what makes Succession so good. And I was just talking about Don't Look Up. The opposite, was with Don't Look Up. You have these really cool stories, you have really great actors, but the characters are really thin. That is the issue with this movie, Mountainhead. Because, again, like I said, I enjoyed this movie, and there are, parts where I'm watching it and I was interested in everything that was going to happen. But the characters themselves are so thin. And that kind of takes away any type of interesting real-world allegory that, I think this movie could bring up. Because I think there actually is a lot of interesting stuff this film's discussing, especially with, people who are powerful tech CEOs in our world who have government connections, or, any entrepreneur, the rise of AI. And this movie deals with that in a way that seems frighteningly realistic with how just ordinary people can kind of take over. And people were even saying that Jesse Armstrong just wanted to write some Elon fanfic, or they were saying that, this was actually a scrapped idea for a Succession finale, which I can kind of see. But when you take a step back, I think the biggest issue with this movie is, it comes down to that, me thinking, well, this could have been an idea for the Succession finale. It feels like everything in this movie is interesting, but there's so much more that we aren't getting, and we're just kind of meant to take it at face value. The four main actors are great. Corey Michael Smith, who's been appearing in a lot of stuff recently. I always loved him as the Riddler in Gotham. That was where I first discovered him. I always thought he was great. He's really good, and he's been having a lot of great roles, from May December to being in Saturday Night, where he was great as Chevy Chase. And now he's really charismatic here as this guy. Really good name. His name's Venice Paris. And he's one of the richest guys in the world. Steve Carell's great as the Jeff Bezos guy of the group, the older one. Jason Schwartzman is really good, and Rami Youssef. They're all great, and they're all perfectly cast. So the issue isn't with that. And like I said, it's entertaining. It's fun to watch. It's just that it is hard to look at this movie like it's very deep. I don't want to give it a scathing review. A lot of people are saying this is insufferable or it's so bad. There are a lot of really dumb moments, and I think the dialogue itself is it's cringe. There's parts where they're just having these really important discussions about people dying, and they'll just then start doing blowjobs in their mouth, or they're gesturing oh, he's jerking off. There's something about the way they do dirty comedy in this that feels very forced. It worked in Succession because all those characters were kind of built for, we knew who they were. We had history with them. But just seeing these guys, they're basically parodies of Succession characters, or kind of those same archetypes, but we don't have any backstory for them. So as a result, even if we're just told something, it doesn't come off as genuine, or it feels artificial, or it feels like these characters just don't have depth. And yeah, it's great that they're played by, great actors like Steve Carell or Rami Youssef or Jason Schwartzman. But because the characters aren't that deep, the movie just doesn't click. And as a result, it feels really silly at times. Like the movie, like Don't Look Up, has a really interesting concept. This is, what if, the head of Reddit or Twitter caused all this deep fake information to be spread about. There's tons of confusion. No one knows what's going on. There's chaos. Governments are being destabled. It's a very interesting idea, but it's played with in a very loose, a way that doesn't really work because we don't have a connection to these characters. For the first 20 or 30 minutes, they're all just on their phones. Corey Michael Smith's character invented this Reddit app. It's called Tram, where they're basically just spreading misinformation, but he doesn't care. He wants the app to grow. And as a result, all these horrible things are happening around the world. There's chaos, genocides, murders. And the way they deal with this, I feel like there's a much more interesting approach. I just thought it was really lazy, and it just was eye roll worthy how they'll just check their phones and they'll be Argentina's fucked. There's just this casualness that I feel they wanted to do a short movie. Jesse Armstrong wanted to do a play. It really feels like a play, but it just doesn't work because we don't have this connection to the characters. I think in Succession, all of this would work. Or in any situation where we really just have backstory. And I think they do a good job with backstory, but because most of this movie is serving this dialogue-heavy story, and we don't get a lot of backstory too as to what these guys have done, with their companies. We just know they're all rich. They're all these actors we know, and they don't care. So it's supposed to be this satire, but it's kind of this empty satire that's dumping information on you without giving you enough backstory. That's personally just what I thought, and I feel like it genuinely could have been a great satire, could have been more biting and less silly if it had really dug into those things. Give us their backstories, give us more information on them. I just wanted this to be more personal and a lot less just witty back and forth Roman Royisms. That's kind of just how I felt. So let me know what you guys think. Again, when I watch a movie, I want to be entertained, and I really was entertained, but it was in a way that I felt this is just kind of silly, pretentious satire. It wasn't that great, but still it is entertaining to watch. And I do think all the actors are great, and I think the technical elements here are pretty solid, especially because it's a TV movie, so it's exactly what you'd expect from a well-done TV movie. So let me know what you guys think, and thank you so much for watching.